Welcome to the quick hitter version of Buckets, Boards, and Blocks. Alongside my co-host, King McClure, I'm Monica McNutt. This week, we ripped through every one of the NBA playoff matchups so far. But the quick hitter is brought to you from the Mavs-Clippers matchup. In the West, also, Mavs-Clippers. This was one that I was super excited to watch. Versus Kawhi. It also is where I find my Who's Trippin' for this particular week. Mavs lose to the Clippers 118-110, but it was quite the game to watch. Luka puts up 42, 7, and 9. Like, this man is, like, I don't understand when people have the conversation of what young players you would build around. Like, it's Luka. Don't talk to me about nobody else.
There's no question.
But Kawhi, 29, 12, and 6 on 11 of 21 from the field. Like, I think Kawhi's efficiency is so underrated. But Paul George did the same thing, 10 of 22 for a great night as well. How many games you got this one going, King?
7.
You think?
7. Because here's my thing. Before we get into your Who's Tripping, here's my thing. With Porzingis, I think the Mavs take game 1.
I think it's closer, but I'm not sold that they actually take it.
I think they take, because it was close without Porzingis. It was still a ball game. But with Porzingis, because honestly, if you look at the Mavericks roster, you have Luka, Porzingis, major drop off into like role players.
You got Seth Curry, you know what I'm saying?
Role player.
True. Got my man Wes Matthews.
Wes Matthews not on the team no more.
Oh, he's not?
It's Tim Hardaway Jr., your boy.
Oh, my bad, I mixed them up. Sorry.
Another role player.
Who else? Maxi Kleba. I like him.
Super role player.
Super role player for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's nobody to really counter.
I'm saying there's nobody. You don't have a second option to go to, which is why I think the Mavericks are one piece away. They need a third option. And they're one piece away from being a championship caliber team.
All right, real quick. Who's tripping? The refs. I'm just over the refs. That's why Porzingis was out of the game because of technical foul call. 2 techs, he got ejected. The second tech after which Morris brother plays for the Clippers and which one plays for the Lakers?
I think that was Markieff for the Clippers.
So Keith gets an altercation with Luka. KP, as he should, swoops in, going cape for his captain and his leader.
Guys, Marcus is on the Clippers. Markieff's on the Lakers.
Marcus.
No, they look very similar.
They look just alike.
Very similar. All right, so Marcus, mixes it up with Luka. KP decides to cape, as he should, because that's your leader. Second technical foul. My problem is the first technical foul was because he was demonstrative after a call that he disagreed with. Steve Javie, Bruce's friend, who we love, great, explains on the broadcast that by the letter of the law, those are techs, players know, refs know, and if refs don't make those calls, they're going to be called to the carpet. Company line, you're supposed to say that. This is playoff basketball. If a guy can't get upset about a call, what are we doing? I don't know if it's extra quiet in the bubble, so there's heightened sensitivity to these things, but it's ridiculous. I have said since the restart, the techs have been flying entirely too easily. Someone who works in the league office and actually counts the techs shared with me that by number, the techs are not up. It's just that we have a larger volume of games over a small amount of time, but it looks ridiculous. It's a bad look for the league. I think they got to do something.
No, I agree with you. I think that that was bogus, especially the first one. Because, I mean, everybody knows, like, if you're in the heat of the moment, you hoop, Monica, you're in the heat of the moment in the NCAA tournament, you're going to get upset. It was a clean block. First and foremost, you shouldn't have called a foul. You shouldn't have called a foul in the first place. It's a clean block. So, of course, you get upset. And for him to react like that, that's not a tech. I mean, the second one, yes, you can give him a tech for that. Cool. The first one, not a tech. Even the second one is questionable. But the first one, you just don't do that because then you ruin the whole game.
100% agree. I think we had Ronnie Nunn, who was a fantastic official for years and years in the league, on the pod, King, before you joined us. My dad is a high school official. Out at Summer League, I sat next to Joey Crawford and chatted up about officiating. There's the letter of the law, and I think there's a spirit of the law. And we had this debate a season ago when it seemed like the officials versus Draymond, the officials versus CP3, not just any CP. I think that there has to be some communication and there has to be some wiggle room. Like, these guys are competing at an elite level. But if you're talking to them, if there's mutual respect, maybe that instinct to fire off my whistle because of the textbook rules can be quelled a little bit, and you go with the flow of the game. I don't know, Bruce. Maybe we're the young people mad at the refs, but to me, it's just a bad look.
You know what I think is playing into this a little bit too? In a normal arena under the, in our previous lifetime when there was like fans there and noise and like distractions and all that, you couldn't hear every single grunt and word that players said. I think now, because it's a much more quieter house, I think the refs, like anybody else, they can hear more. And I think, if they didn't hear it, they wouldn't call it. But now they're hearing it, so they're going to call it. Just my thought.
So I would like the refs, because the game is not about them, to close one ear. Hear a little bit less. That's all I want.
I think also another thing that comes into play with that is the star treatment.
Boom.
And KP doesn't get the star treatment. You're not throwing LeBron out the game. You're not throwing Damian Lillard out the game. So you throw Kristaps out the game. Like, come on now.
I mean, you went LeBron and Damian, who are ones on their team. But even if you look at those teams and talk about the twos, you're not throwing CJ out. You're not throwing Anthony out.
You're not throwing Luka Doncic out the game.
Right. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? All right.
Luka Doncic whines more than anybody in the league, by the way. That dude whines about every non-call.
Hey,
I mean,
when you that good,
hello?
You can do whatever you want to do at 21.
No, I agree with that. but the dude just whines nonstop.
Hey, look,
they should do a mixtape of him whining.
Go ahead and whine.
He's a European. It's a European thing.
If you'd like to hear more, check out the full version of Buckets, Boards, and Blocks with Monica McNutt and myself, King McClure, from